Hey, Dylan from The Pop Culturist here. With Captain America Civil War coming to cinemas this week, and introducing both Black Panther and Spider-Man into the MCU for the first time, we thought this would be the perfect opportunity to look back at our favourite first introductions in Marvel movies with the top 10. So, here's our top 10 Marvel movie first appearances. With a disorientated God of Thunder on the loose, single-handedly taking down an entire SHIELD team, Agent Coulson calmly calls in our number 10 spot on the list as backup. First going for a traditional sniper rifle, he changes his mind for the more unconventional choice of bow and arrow, and gives audiences the first hint toward the marksman's identity. With his face cleverly hidden from the audience, he ascends a tower and gets into position as he's addressed simply by his last name.
Barton, talk to me.
Along with some smart aleck quips,
You want me to slow him down, sir? Or are you sending in more guys for him to beat up?
it's here that we got our first glimpse of Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye. And even though he doesn't get to join in on the action, it's a fun little introduction to Marvel's Avenging Archer.
You better call it, Coulson. I'm starting to root for this guy.
At number 9, it's a slight switcheroo.
Next time, baby.
After Terrence Howard reportedly demanded a bigger salary and equal billing to reprise his role as James Rhodey Rhodes,
You don't respect yourself, so I know you don't respect me.
Marvel Studios were tasked with the first recasting in their cinematic universe. And how did they do it?
Hey, Tony.
I'm sorry, this is the fun bee. The humdrum bee's back there.
As always, with a clever wink to the audience. Entering court to unexpectedly testify against his best friend, replacement actor Don Cheadle smoothly strides in with,
Look, it's me. I'm here to deal with it. Let's move on.
in a nice tongue-in-cheek statement to both Tony and the audience. After that, he seamlessly entered the role, and it's been a smooth transition ever since, with Cheadle reprising the part 3 more times so far.
Get out.
Starting close up on a pub dartboard, a dart hits the bullseye dead on, then another straight centre with uncanny precision. If that weren't enough, the person throwing it was not only not looking where he's aiming, but is downing a pint of beer at the same time. As we first see Colin Farrell's bullseye, he throws one last toss, piercing straight through the first dart. When a sore loser taunts him, we first glimpse the bullseye carved right into his forehead and just how insane he can be. With a series of clever reveals, one scene establishes that Bullseye is a master marksman with weapons of any kind, including a simple paperclip, and not someone to be messed with. All to the tune of House of Pain's Top of the Morning to Ya. Following from the perfectly light-hearted bonding moment of each Avenger attempting to lift Thor's hammer, the party is interrupted by Ultron version 1 stumbling in. Like a metallic marionette, James Spader's creepy monologue about strings no longer holding him instantly turns the scene eerie, bringing the beginning of his plan to, what was his plan in the movie again anyway? Even though the threat of Ultron never really lived up to this scene, it was nonetheless a perfectly chilling entrance, which places it at number 7. There's a lot of things wrong with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3, but one very brief shining moment is the transition of Thomas Hayden Church's small-time thug Flint Marko into the birth of the superpowered villain Sandman. Watching him rise from millions of sand particles was a sheer wonder, and the magic of seeing him slowly finding his form, driven purely by the love of his sick daughter, is both astonishing and touching, especially when you consider it was all just computer-generated imagery, with absolutely no dialogue whatsoever. Simply put, it was pure visual storytelling at its best, and worthy of number 6. After being criticised for his lack of action in X-Men, Bryan Singer made sure the sequel opened with a bang. An everyday tour of the White House turns into a thrilling assassination attempt as Alan Cummings' Nightcrawler springs into action. From the subtle first raise of his tail, security mistaking his teleporting for multiple targets, a dozen Secret Service agents converge to protect the US president, but are thwarted by a single attacker in a beautiful display of martial arts ballet, easily earning the number 5 spot. Never did anyone expect the practical, but fairly mundane ability to teleport from one place to another to be so visceral and visually thrilling, easily earning the number 5 spot. After an unsuspecting partygoer is lured into a techno-pumping rave, things turn bloody when fire sprinklers release a rain of blood and the dance floor turns quite literally into a bloodbath. Enter Wesley Snipes, armed to the teeth, pun intended, as Marvel's favourite vampire hunter, Blade. Taking out an entire room with a shotgun, sword and kung fu, he oozes cool, all without saying a single word, and pretty much establishes what the character would do throughout the rest of the series, all in only 3 minutes of screen time. In a seedy bar deep in the freezing heart of Canada, a lost rogue stumbles upon a cage fight. The last opponent is dragged out as the announcer calls out for anyone to dare challenge the Wolverine. After easily taking a beating, he fights back with a metallic crunch teasing his adamantium skeleton as he takes down his challenger with ease. And returns to the corner to puff on his trademark cigar. In the very next scene, the sore loser takes out his frustration on the gruff, unapproachable Logan.
You lost your money, you keep this up, you lose something else.
And in the blink of an eye, he unleashes his iconic adamantium claws, pinning his attacker against the wall as his third claw dramatically slides up to his throat. Though he may be more jacked in his most recent appearances, it was the ferocity shown here that instantly made Hugh Jackman the only person you could imagine in the role, and making him our number 3. For the sheer wow factor alone, this was an obvious choice for the list, and set the expectation that when the end credits started to roll, movies were far from over. Tony Stark comes home late at night to find his security system deactivated and an intruder lurking. Out of the shadows steps who else but Samuel L. Jackson, draped in a leather coat and eye patch.
I'm here to talk to you about the Avenger Initiative.
Introducing himself as Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's bombshell after bombshell in just 50 seconds as he reveals that Tony Stark is not the only superhero in the world, which is why it's a close second on our list. And at number 1, it was in the first Iron Man that Tony Stark mistook famous comic creator Stan Lee for Playboy millionaire Hugh Hefner, beginning a tradition in the MCU that continues to this day. From there, Stan Lee has gone on to cameo in almost every MCU movie since, and though not technically his first Marvel-related movie appearance, that honour would go to the trial of the Incredible Hulk on the small screen and the first X-Men on the big screen. It was Iron Man that set up the expectation of a fun little cameo every time.
Excelsior.
Whether it's as Hugh Hefner, Larry King, or even just a librarian, the sparkle in Stan the Man's eye brings a smile to our face every time. And without him, we wouldn't have half the movies on this list, which makes him our number 1 pick. So what did you guys think of our top 10? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Was there someone else you thought would be better in the list? Leave your comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to check out more news, movies, and reviews. But until then, make mine Marvel.